Hello, everybody. Hello, people from the YouTube land. Hello, people from Yahoo land. Hello, people from Twitter land. Hello, people from TV land and all over land. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect government, establish justice, domestic tranquility. Hopefully, you all can see me pretty good in this video. I am trying to test new waters on doing this video. As you can see, I'm using it's not my computer, and then I'm uploading the video. Hopefully it'll work that way. But I am trying to see how I can continue this without having to do much thing, but looks like I'm stuck here. I gotta see how I can turn the camera around so I can actually show you my email in case anybody wants to write me and say some interesting things and ask some difficult questions. So my email is Viva, VIVA, V as in Victor, I as in Ice, V as in Victor, A as in Alpha, 783949. I'll repeat that last number, 783949. No, I think I got it wrong. It's 78313149. 783149 at gmail.com. So I'll go ahead and say the whole thing again. It's Viva, VIVA 783149 at gmail.com. So having passed that email, I guess you all know what I'm talking about. So this video, remember, it's a part of a series of videos that we're going to try to break down some of the things and try to analyze and make comments with respect. I try to be as unbiased as possible, even though in some cases I am a bit biased. I mean, I want to accept that. I mean, I think everybody or a great number of people are biased, and in one way, some people, and I respect this lady who's a journalist, and she does a great job reporting the facts and understanding pushing the different narratives that are out there and maintaining herself as unbiased as possible. But in some cases, special cases, even the reporters, as unbiased as they are trained to be, or hopefully that's what the training comes into, they should be able to do the dragnet. I don't know if you ever go to Remembering TV, or those old programs. They got this TV channel where they show all these old programs, Andy Griffin, Perry Mason, the Beverly Hillbillies, all those programs that were around in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So there was a police program called Dragnet. And Dragnet, the two main detectives, Thursday and Friday, would say, just the facts, man, just the facts. Don't double talk us, just the facts. So that's what I'm hoping I can do, just the facts. But in the analysis, we try to break it down in such a way that you can understand where things are coming from and where things are wrong. And I get that not only by my academic background, my experience, my reading, my research, and it's been my field of study, this public administration, political economy, economic growth, social psychology, religion. I have delved hours, thousands of hours studying, doing research on my own, research that I get paid for. And all this research that I do and all this reading that I do, hopefully it pays off now that I can interpret this. And I've delved into the world of the journalist. Hope they don't mind. I've delved into the world of banking or the finance field. So being an economist per trade and a business management as a second trade, you might say, or a couple trades with international as part of the equation. I think I have developed the ability and the competence to interpret some of these things and to tell you where they're coming from, because there's a lot of things that people forget. People forget many things. They're kind of like Teflon brains. They don't remember things that take place. And you say, why is that? Well, there's a lot of reasons why people forget. One, they got a busy schedule. They got all these things going on in their life that, I mean, thinking about what happened 30, 40 years from now, I mean, it's hard. It's hard for people to think about that. It's hard for people to remember people calling the end of the earth. You know, it happens. It happened many times. Many times in the religious groups that have called out the end of the world, the coming of Christ, the Antichrist. They keep saying dates and making mathematical equations and doing funny math and coming up with all kinds of dates. Now, some of the math is right. I mean, the anthropologists have confirmed some of the math calculations, but many of the math calculations are as bad as their conspiracy theories of many of these so-called theologians, which are the pastors of churches. They go through a kind of like a Rocco typing school type of training, and they come out as pastors. Now, some do study, go deep into the rabbit hole studying theology, and most of those people aren't in the front lines. I mean, yeah, they're noticeable. They do things, they preach and they teach and they do research, they write, but they're not in the spotlight. That's what I mean. But many of those that are not in doing any of those important things, and they're like cheap salesmen, they are in the spotlight. So you wonder about those things. And many of those that are cheap salesmen that are wealthy as can be, and many of those who do deep research, deep analysis, the work that bring light and shed some light into the topics, into the issues, they're just well off. And some of them are dirt poor like me. For some reason, I missed the boat when they distributed the money, and I missed it. So now I don't have, I only have one meal a day. And I have two part-time jobs, and I can't seem to get anywhere because I got to an age where we're discriminated. I mean, and there's no joke. I just saw a lady on a video that she is promoting her company. She has a digital marketing company. She's Hispanic, nothing to do with any type of racism, just to identify where her interest lies. But she is a Hispanic girl, nice looking woman, young, I would say mid 20s, no more than 30. And like I said, she has a market and digital company, and she wants to hire somebody to assist her in that world because she looks like she has a lot of work, and a lot of people are hiring her to do their marketing or do the digitized marketing. Well, digitized marketing at the end is just another tool. Now she might know it differently. She might think she discovered a new world, but no, she did not discover no new world. It's just another tool to expand the knowledge of a product. You know, they make the product and the other people experience the product. It kind of works that way. I saw one time an advertising that says, look, you make great product, but the people are inspired by your product. Yeah, wow, that sounds pretty deep. But that's what it is all about. Now, given that the digitized world is totally different than the paper world, because paper and regular standard TV only has certain limits. Digitized marketing does cover a lot more, but you also have to be cognizant that digitized marketing, we have to confine the geo areas or geographic areas where the market is, or you kill yourself. Forget about the art of the marketing. If the people can't make the product fast enough and good enough, what good is it to have a market that is boundless? I mean, I had that experience in my life. One time in my life, I had a brick maker. He made bricks. He had a great factory where he made different types of bricks. And he said, "Oh, you think I can open up a market in the United States?" And I said, "I think so." So I helped him market his product, and then I hired a lady who is a great marketer, and she started announcing the product. Well, pretty soon we started getting orders, and we started to send the orders down to him, the manufacturer. Well, yeah, I mean, pretty soon he had so many orders, and he had no time to make all the bricks that they were ordering to him at the time they needed the bricks. So many of the bricks were brittle, and they broke very easy. So the defective bricks, brittle bricks are defective bricks. And he just shut down. That's how too much too much of one thing can kill you. It happens everywhere, you know. Just because you drink liquor doesn't mean you're gonna sustain 7 bottles of liquor in your stomach and be okay. Your liver might give out and you'll be dead. So it's kind of like a little bit exaggerated on the well, it could be an analogy that goes hand in hand with the brick maker. The marketing was so good. I mean, and the orders were so much, he couldn't keep up with the pace. So any company, any company needs to pace itself. That would be the key word: pace itself, and see how the expansion is going. If the predictions are, and that's where people who make forecasts and predict and estimate that things can happen in this direction or that direction, and the probabilities are high, the risk level is low. And consider that I said probability is high, risk level is low. Risk could be high and then it's not feasible, but risk is low, so it's probable. And so you have to get the investment in line and expand your production lines and expand your manufacturing capability. Retool your factory or tool up your factory so you can actually meet and be ready for those demands. And it happens. It happens often. It's no big deal, but it does happen. So let me give you another example. So there's in this an example of unforeseen. It's called the unforeseen demand spike. And here's how it goes. So here's a beer company talking about beer, and they're making beer, and they're meeting all their demand. The orders can come. They have a really good marketing team that promotes them in all levels of communication. They go from newspaper, magazine, specialty groups, associations, chambers of commerce, TV, radio, and internet. Phase one of the internet. And phase one of the internet, when I say phase one, it's all those ads that you can paste on the regular Google page or Yahoo page or AOI page, search engine pages. And those little videos are there. That would be the phase one level. The next level will be going to the social media world, but in this case, that company was not at that level yet. So even though it was a very early stage of social media coming on board, but it wasn't developed yet, so there were not that many people that really made a difference. So even though Facebook was the pioneer in this, or one of the pioneers in this social media world. At the time, this company was just the phase one level. Phase two would be the social media, like the Facebook, the Tumblr, and all those. And then phase three would be the YouTube, and then you have the Twitter, and you have all the other ones. And then you have the cloud management, so you can bring down information promptly and put it in the hands of the people. So, bringing this beer company, there's this gig going on of people, and with this gig that's going on, they mention the beer. You know, the singer says, "Oh, beer so and so is so great, and we love it here in our group, and we drink that beer all the time." And well, the audience, and pretty soon everybody started, the people who heard the video, who heard the live concert and the recorded concert, they said, "Wow, that beer!" So they started buying that beer. People started buying the beer like there was no mañana, and there was a spike in demand. And the production manager, as well as the logistics manager, asked the marketing manager, said, like, "What's going on? Do you not understand? Because we need to we need to boost up our sourcing. Where the products that we buy in order to make the beer." And the logistics manager said, "We need to get the trucks and we need to get everything ready. Some of the companies, we need to bring them in on board so they can deliver the product on time. And then we also need to distribute the product, so because we got we're running out. The warehouses are getting over demand, and they're not even overstocked; they're understocked." So then they go and try to make this analysis, and they try to identify the statistics, try to see how that spike got rolling, and will it be a lasting spike? That was the question that one of the people asked. And this was the person who asked this was the operations manager. He said, "Will this last? Because I need to bring in another crew in order for them, so we can have a 24-hour shift." Well, the marketing manager came back and said, "Hey, well, this is looks like it's going to be a big spike, so we need to really bring in the 24-hour shift and get everything ready." Yes and no. If you look at the data correctly, you overlook some of the issues. To begin with, how did it start? And that's where the marketing manager went wrong in the analysis of the data. How did it all begin? Where did the spike? Where did the initial spark? And I'm not going to say spike, but where did the initial spark come from? Well, it was from the gig. If he would have seen the gigs, say, "Oh man, yeah," because word of mouth is a powerful tool, and that's one of the things that marketers know. Every marketer should know, or does know, that word of mouth is one of the things. And when you have a visible mouth, like the people who were the performers, that's a visible mouth. That the words of that mouth travel thousands, if not millions of miles in an instant in today's world. Now, if we were back in 1929, yeah, they probably travel hundreds of miles. Man, that's a long way. But we're in the 21st century, so we're looking at thousands of miles that the word travels. So this was the latter part of the 20th century when this happened, almost beginning of the 21st century. But that was one of the mistakes of the marketer, because the hype started to fall back. And if the operations manager would have taken the word of the marketing manager right away and not just ease up a little bit, they would have been in deep problems, because done an investment which rate of return would have been zero, if not negative. So you got to see all these variables. I mean, it's a tricky situation, but it's feasible to understand it and try to measure it, and maybe bring in a little bit of overtime, which is more feasible, and just hype up the production on the two shifts that they had, and that would have solved the problem, which it did. But more than anything, by the time they shifted and they did everything, the hype was starting to ease off, slow down, and drop. So they had too much time in their hands that they overbooked, but it wasn't a big deal. They were able to recover and get on with the swing of things and just ride the wave as far as it went. And then it tampered down and life went on as usual. But those are some of the things that you have to consider in anything, not just in a product like the beer. Politics requires that. And one thing that people make a mistake on is on Donald Trump, going into the world of politics as we slide from all these examples that I gave on marketing. And I didn't get to talk economics, but that was kind of like a tail end of what I started out to say. But if we continue with the word of marketing and some of the example that we gave, how the analysis was done, you begin to see that Donald Trump was not a liked fellow before and after. He was a visible individual, a snottish individual, a pompous individual, but a failed individual who got his money from a billionaire father who was a person who had savvy, who was stingy, and who cut corners in every form and fashion he could. So he accumulated wealth, not only asset wealth, but also liquid wealth. And he had plenty of money. And then as time went by, Donald Trump took over the company, but because he screwed his brothers. And it's documented. I'm not making this up. This is documented in the three biographies that I read about him. It's right there in black and white. I mean, or one kind of beige paper and black ink. And there's tons of writing in the newspaper because he always wanted to be visible. He had this poor self-image of himself, where the only way that he could see himself as a person who excels is by being on the newspaper and being surrounded by reporters and being asked all these questions, which he didn't answer most of them, and he hasn't answered the one. He would come out in Larry King, God rest his soul, this other radio disc jockey who has long hair. I forgot his name right now. It escapes his name. See how easy things escape your name. Let's see if I can remember. I'll come back to him later. Anyway, it starts with an H, Ernst or something like that. Anyway, so then he comes out with Oprah Winfrey. He comes out with David Letterman. He comes out in other programs, but he was always desiring to be visible. Now, he did get into politics. He was knowledgeable of politics. People say he didn't know politics, that he was a businessman, and they always just angle their analysis kind of like the analogy that I just gave the two stories. They angle it like, oh, well, yeah, he was a businessman. He gave that image, but behind the scenes, he's not a businessman. He started with New York politics. There was a guy, some Knox guy, who was a mayor, Coke guy. He was a Coke guy who was a mayor of New York back in the 70s. And that's where Donald Trump began. And there's a guy by the name of Roy who was a lawyer who was a family lawyer, became the family lawyer. He wasn't the family lawyer. He just became the family lawyer, and he gave a lot of advice. He was a kind of like a mentor to Donald Trump. And then the Koch man, who was a mayor of New York, also began to introduce him into politics. And not to say that he rolled because of the millions and billions of dollars the father had. He used a lot of that money and began to roll with the political groups. He became a fan, ally, and friend of Richard Nixon, and he continued to work in the political realm on the periphery of the political realm, kind of like me. I'm in the periphery of the political world. I'm not in the politics. I mean, I can be if somebody would finance me. Of course, I don't have no rich father, no rich uncle, no rich anything, and right now I'm barely surviving. So it's kind of like define the purpose that I say, oh, I'm going to run for office. How? I don't have money. You need money to run for office. You just can't wake up one day and say, I'm going to run for office. You need somebody to bankroll you because you spend a lot of time where, where would I be if I didn't work these two shifts that I have? I couldn't do, I mean, I can do this conversation with you all, but that's about it. One meal a day, that barely cuts it. I mean, at least 2 meals a day would be nice. And I could be on the road, like here in Texas, I could run against Ted Cruz. Oh man, I could run him down like a nail. And because the poor man, I mean, granted, he has a lot of merits, merits that he accumulated, but he is a sly individual. He's taken Texans, we Texans, he's taken us for a ride because he doesn't represent me. He doesn't represent you. He doesn't represent the people here in Texas. He doesn't like the people here. If he liked the people here, he would work for the people. That's one thing I gotta say about Grassley over there in Iowa. He kind of worked for Iowa, and Joni Ernst also worked for Iowa. So they're a team right there that actually look towards the state and cares for the state. This Ted Cruz, he doesn't care about the state. He cares about himself, and he has offices that who knows when he's here. Nobody knows if he's here, because that would be the question: if he's here, not when he's here. If he's here, and then you ask for support, and he bails you out like a dead fish. So you can't get nothing from his office. You can't get nothing from John Cornyn's office either. So what good are those two senators for me? I can't write to them. I can't talk to them. Their staff could care less about the constituents, the people who vote for them, and they got them in office, and they're living this luxurious life where they can eat 3 meals a day and have a roof over their head. That they should be grateful that we, the people of the state of Texas, voted for to represent us, and they're not representing us at all. No way, they're not representing us. All they care about is how to be visible, and they want to take us for a ride because that's what they're doing. They're giving us smoke and fake jewelry, just like they did in the Manhattan Indians. They give this fake jewelry to the Indians and this mirrors and smoke, and they drove the Indians illusioned, and they dazzled them, and they sold Manhattan. And they sold Manhattan for what? For mirrors, fake jewelry, smoke, and a lot of blah blah blah. So think about it, people. Think about what I just said, especially the people in Texas, here and we in Texas. How is Ted Cruz helping us? How is John Connally helping us? They're not. They're looking out for themselves. Do they help us? We ask them for something. Do they give it to us? No, they don't. And they say, oh, we got our staff is very busy. I mean, that's all they do. if I did that 24 hours a day, or let's say if I did that 10 hours a day, 7 days, 6 weeks a day, 6 weeks, 6 days a week, 300, 12 months in a year, should I have knowledge? I mean, should I have it all down, packed, kind of like having nightmares about what I do, where the information is, where I can, in the channels I can do it, that I can easily tell somebody, oh, I'm looking for this document. How can I do it? Oh, just go here and here and here, and that's it. Easy. Or let me send it to you, because it's easy for the person to get it and email it to the other person. It doesn't even take them 5 minutes to do something when they know it. But if they're just losing their time and wasting their time, just like their bosses are losing their time and wasting their time in nothing but something that benefits themselves for the next gig, well, yeah, that's not going to be too good. Not too good for the people. Good for them, but not good for the people. So in all that, let's go back to the Trump man. So the Trump man had a lot of political savvy. And I bet you, I'll put $1, maybe $10 on the table right now. If anybody can prove me wrong, he probably is doing extorting those senators. He hired some private detective, and I mean, it's not hard once you're in the circle, in the inner circle, and you become part of the inner circle. And he's probably a Mason, and he's probably, he was a friend of Epstein. He took pictures with Epstein in many ways, in many forms and fashions. So he's very, very familiar with Epstein. So he knows people here and there. And I was trying to remember the first director of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover. He always had a blackmailing folder to all the senators because they had something on those senators and those congressmen. So that's why J. Edgar Hoover was never replaced until Nixon came around. But by then, J. Edgar Hoover was an old man. I mean, I'm not that old, but when he was kicked out of office, he was old. But he didn't want to give up the office. He did everything possible, kind of like the Trump man, except he didn't yell fraud, or he didn't yell all this bullshit that the Trump man did, this show that the Trump man did. But maybe it was the drama that made things almost real, which they're not. And there's always fraud in all elections. No matter how clean they are, there's no such thing as super clean elections. Somebody always walks in and tries to outsmart the system. There's always some ding-dong or ding-dong woman or ding-dong man who tries to outsmart the system. And they throw in an extra vote from a dead person, or they go to two voting places, and they say they didn't vote in the other one, and they vote again. So they do double dipping, what it's called, and then they do the dead man scroll. And if they have paper ballots, it's a lot easier to commit fraud, because then you have paper ballots, and you get paper ballots. You can fold them in such a way as they are traditionally folded, and then slip them into the pack. So if you don't have electronic systems, you don't have machines, you don't have nothing of those sorts, and it's just plain paper ballots that you fill in with a pencil or a pen or a marker, it's a lot easier to commit fraud. Oh man, it's a lot easier. I seen it happen on ththose cases. It's very easy to fool somebody and slot a pack that many of the times that little pack or that pack that they slid in mixed with the other ones changes the election results of that particular precinct. So yeah. It's a tricky situation. So it's not a predicament per situation, but it's a tricky situation. But at this stage of the game, when we have a combination of paper ballots and we have voting machines and we have other means of scrutiny, it makes it a lot easier for things to go by. So just be cautious on that issue. Well, I better get off and let you guys think about everything I said, and have a wonderful evening, and thank you, and God bless you.